Sombra has quickly become one of my favorite heroes to play in Season 5, and that's for two reasons. One, she's incredibly good against so many characters that get played right now, and two, after studying the best pro players playing at Apex in Korea, I've really picked up a lot of the best uses and playstyles to activate Sombra's power in the current meta, and I want to share that with you today. Now, there's so many things that I could talk about with Sombra. I'm going to have to make multiple videos about her. There's no other way around it. She's one of the most difficult heroes in the entire game because there's so much going on. There's so much debatable play that it's difficult to really pin down simple advice because there's so much contextual information going on all the time. But for this video in particular, I want to narrow in her ability to directly counter the flanky, divey characters that dominate the meta right now. We're talking about Diva Winston, Genji Tracer Pharah. Each will have varying degrees of trouble for you right now, depending on what level of matchmaking you're playing at. But when played well, Sombra can do well against all of them if you know what you're doing. We're going to show examples of outpacing each of these characters in this video. And the very first is Genji. Genji's Blade is one of the most devastating ultimate abilities in the game right now, next to Soldier Sights, I would say. It has the ability to just unsheath and then quickly zip through your whole team and kill so many players so fast that you don't really have time to react. Well, getting a hack off, which both includes either manually hacking or, of course, EMPing, so that the hack effect applies, is great against Genji for a couple reasons. Well, one, as he's setting up to be able to try to get into a position to get a good Dragon Blade off, if you hack him then, he can't run away, he can't dash, and you can focus him before he unsheaths his blade. But what's even more interesting is hacking Genji after he's unsheathed his blade. This especially, I think, can be good if they put two ults into Genji and Nano Blade, because when Genji is hacked, his most lethal ability gets removed, and that's his dash resets. That's what allows him to be able to rampage through your entire team, because after he slices and gets a kill, he has an incredibly powerful movement ability that gets him where he's going. Whereas if you get the hack off on him, although he does still have the lethal blade, of course, without his ability to dash quickly at you like the cyber ninja he is, he sort of looks like he's bringing a knife to a gunfight, Indiana Jones style. And that's an example of a really tight, narrow, by the margins counterplay that you can pull off with Sombra that really isn't possible with other characters in the game. Sure, a well-timed drop the beat might be able to do it, but it's not out and out as strong of a counter as removing his ability to get in on your team. Now, in your own play, you might want to be careful to make sure that your team isn't all clumped up, because if that's the case, he's just going to cleave into your team anyway, and his inability to Swift Strike's not going to matter. But if your team is split up enough to be able to dodge the Dragon Blade, hacking him can be incredible. Now, the next map we're going to look at is playing it up against a Pharah, who I give her quite a headache with Sombra. Again, I think Sombra is an even better counter to Pharah than McCree is right now, because the cool thing you could do up against a Pharah player is swap the playstyles entirely. Normally, Pharah plays as the hunter against the hit scans trying to pursue her. Sombra's mobility and stealth means that Pharah's never going to know where you're at. With that being the case, you can always be at an off angle behind the engagement in a way that she just can't be prepared for. Always ready to crossfire and punish her as she flies through the sky. Mobility is king in this meta right now, and Pharah's able to play at a range that a character like McCree can't even damage. With that being the case, a good Sombra being able to triangulate the engagement and get in on behind it can swap the roles of Pharah and put her on the back foot. If the Pharah is unable to just freely fly over your team and pelt rockets into them, because she's afraid of getting shot in the back by your Sombra, even if you don't directly kill her every engagement, you can be a big enough threat to minimize her impact and allow your team to freely fight the way they want to. Now, of course, watching this gameplay, what you've noticed me do is do the classic farming for Sombra ult playstyle, hacking as many health packs as you can, getting in, harassing, building EMP, and then EMPing as many of the enemy as you can at the point of contact, making it a pretty easy cleanup from there. Now, the complexities of who to EMP when will go on, and that's kind of the reason why I have to make multiple videos about this, but of course, one of the easiest targets is a Zenyatta, because if you EMP him along with a lot of his other teammates, he won't be able to get his ult off, first of all, but also you deal 150 damage to him immediately, meaning that he's going to be a quick follow-up frag, basically for free. But to that point, even dueling up against the Pharah or Tracer in this context, the interesting thing about Sombra isn't that she has bad damage. Well, she does. The damage for her weapon isn't that great. But it's so reliable and you have so much ammo that it's great at doing the job Sombra's supposed to be doing. And that's following up and crossfiring and finishing off targets that either she hacks or she's pursuing from the back. When you play her right in that context, Sombra's weapon looks very capable. But if you're trying to play her as the heart of the engagement, main damage dealer, like Soldier, spamming out into the distance from afar, you're not really going to see as much success as you would permeating the team fight, using your positioning to find the fights that are best for you, to eliminate key targets and get key hacks to shut down Tracer's ability to stall and run away, shut down Winston's ability to jump around, shut down D.Va's ability to stall as well without defense matrix. Anytime you get a hack off on any of these targets, when they're fighting on the point, they all of a sudden are sitting ducks. And just like everything we said about beating Genji Blade, the same would go for Primal Rage with Winston, I would say. If he's not able to jump every 2 seconds, he's much easier to hit, and having 1,000 hit points doesn't really matter if he's the easiest target to hit in the world, kind of just waddling around as big as King Kong. Now, of course, I may have waited too long in the video to put the big disclaimer of be careful when you're picking Sombra, because it's very easy to be ineffective with her because she's so tricky. But almost more important is that a lot of teammates don't know how to play with a Sombra and can get confused about where your strengths lie. Like the win condition kind of changes in a way that puts people off. Now, in this engagement right here, I kind of show off how Sombra can beat the dive comp, right? Anything that wants to come back and harass, you counter-initiate into that as Sombra, hack it, it can't run away, you shut it down quite easily. But even with the Tracer removed from this fight immediately, we still lose the fight somehow, and that's because my team is trying to overly engage constantly into the enemy team, keep rolling their tanks, and instead of running away and disengaging and allowing time for the health packs to get churning, allow time for the key target selection to make its way, while our healers are getting harassed, the tanks overengage, they don't have healing, they die, and although we do kill one of their key targets, we lose the fight anyway. Coming back into this next fight, it's very similar again. We look like we're going to have an advantage, but since I only EMP a couple of the targets and not the best targets and not all of the team, the enemy still has some ults that they're able to use to clutch out the fight. And this is where we can get into like long philosophical debates about how to play Sombra correctly, because there's so many different situations you can get in. Who should you be hacking? Who do you have to prioritize with EMP? Because you are going to have to prioritize. The enemy team is going to wise up and not just clump up every engagement and allow you to hack everybody. You're going to have to choose who to hack when. And in this last engagement, if I knew that the Zarya had Graviton, she's a great EMP target as well. One, she can't get Grav off, obviously. But if you pop EMP when she doesn't have a bubble out, that's important, I'll get to that in a sec, it stops her from being able to shield herself, use her ult, but it also deals 200 damage to her health, making her a squishy target with a big hitbox, very easy to focus after that. Most of the time, you're not going to want to use EMP when she has her bubble out because it won't deal that extra shield damage. Instead, it will just remove the bubble and she'll have 400 health. Really complicated, I know. And although I thought I was making a sick play, shutting down Tracer, who's one of the biggest carry heroes in the entire game right now, which Sombra can do well to shut down, you can quickly find alternate loss conditions that you didn't think about originally. And mastering Sombra is all about navigating these complex problems and figuring out what's what. But the first step of that, of course, is this video's premise, which is finding yourself in the fight in the best place to do your role's job. And you're constantly seeing me do it throughout this gameplay. It's finding the backside of the fight, always shooting something in the back. As Sombra, you don't want to be taking any damage if you can help it. Like, yeah, if you're trying to farm EMP, that's okay, but constantly be peeling back for your teammates, getting behind that Tracer to hack her, or getting at an off angle of the Pharah so that you can crossfire on her, but be in spots where you're very tricky to get shot at because you're not a direct duelist, you're more of a crossfire, harasser, support character. So that's it for today's video. I hope you did find it useful. If you did, please hit the like button. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe because we upload each and every day. So you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Linked in the description, you can check out our Discord server and our Twitter where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.